Hi guys, how are you? How was your day? I want to sincerely thank you for following my channel and let you know that I love you all. For those of you who are here for the first time, please subscribe to my channel to support my scary stories. My name is Leo Rollins. I'm 26 years old and I enjoy playing all kinds of games. Of course, Minecraft is my go-to. Since I'm into gaming, I naturally hang out with people who share the same passion. That's how I met Ralph, a guy who's unbeatable at every new game that comes out. Honestly, I've never seen anyone progress through levels as effortlessly as he does. One day, I invited Ralph over to my apartment to try out some new games. After a few hours of enjoying the latest offerings from the gaming world, we decided to grab something to eat. While eating, Ralph started talking about the dark web. Sure, I'd heard of it before, but I never had any real interest in exploring what's out there. For those unfamiliar, the dark web is a hidden part of the internet accessible only through the Tor browser. It's mostly known as a hub for illegal activities, from illicit trade to hacking, and even anonymous communication often exploited by criminal organizations. The dark web is infamous for hosting websites, chat rooms, and forums trafficking stolen personal and financial information, including social security numbers and email credentials. What piqued my curiosity, though, was Ralph mentioning that there are games on the dark web you can't find in regular stores. Late that night, after Ralph had left, I decided to check it out. I connected to a VPN, opened the Tor browser, and logged onto the dark web. It's a wild place, to say the least. One of the most annoying things is the constant pop-unders promoting things you'd never want to see. That's when it started. Pages popping up with horrifying countdowns, while a victim sat tied to a chair, and water slowly filled the room. I honestly don't know if these things are real or not. On one side, there was even a counter showing how many people were watching these scenes live. Again, I can't say for sure if it's real or just someone making a sick joke and profiting off it, but it's disturbing either way. What I couldn't wrap my head around was the sheer number of people, millions apparently, watching someone tied up, helplessly waiting for the inevitable as the water level rose. What kind of world is this? How did we get here? What's so twisted in us that makes people want to watch such things? Disgusted, I clicked the X to close yet another pop-under. My original goal was to find a specific game that's no longer available anywhere else. According to Ralph, he had seen it on the dark web. Just as I was about to give up, another pop-under appeared. I got ready to close it, expecting the usual nightmare-inducing countdown timer. But this time, it was something different. To my utter shock, the page displayed all my personal information. Creepy doesn't even begin to describe it. Can you imagine that feeling? Someone on the dark web had access to everything about me. My address, full name, phone number, credit card details, even my medical records. Every single visit to the doctor, every diagnosis, every prescription, it was all there. My entire life laid out on one page, accessible to criminals and hackers. Can you believe that? My mind raced with thoughts, mostly bad ones. What if someone used my information in some terrible way? Was there anything I could do to remove it? As I was lost in these thoughts, a new pop-under appeared. We know everything about you, and will use it to harm you. I froze. Cold beads of sweat formed on my forehead. Was this real? Was this actually happening to me? I looked around, half expecting to find a hidden camera, but there was nothing. The message remained on the screen, glaring at me in bold black letters. Then came a third message. You can buy back your data. Buy back my data? I could barely afford rent this month, let alone pay for something like this. Not that it mattered though. I had no way of contacting them to even agree or disagree with their terms. But no, this wasn't just some ordinary extortion attempt. It became clear when the next message popped up, offering me a form to respond directly to their messages. You can buy back your data if you play a game with us. I love games, so without much thought, I agreed. The game turned out to be a text-based adventure. You know the type. You're presented with scenarios and have to respond by typing Y for yes or N for no. But as the questions started rolling in, I felt sick to my stomach. I nearly threw up. The screen once again displayed the horrifying room with the victim tied to a chair, a paper bag over their head, waiting for their fate as the water level rose. This time, a message appeared. You have a chance to save this person's life and erase your data if you answer 2 questions correctly. The screen immediately split into 4 quadrants, each showing a different angle of the room. The video quality was crystal clear, far better than anything I'd seen on regular streaming platforms. In the top left, I could see the victim from the front, their chest rising and falling rapidly under the paper bag. The top right showed a side view where water was already trickling in through small vents near the floor. The bottom left displayed a view from above, and the bottom right showed their hands, tightly bound with industrial-grade zip ties that had already started cutting into their wrists. A sleek digital timer appeared in the center of my screen, its neon red numbers declaring 500 with clinical precision. Below it, the first question materialized: 31, 28, 31, 30, 31. Should the next number in the sequence be 30, Y, or N? The timer started its countdown, and simultaneously, I heard the distinct sound of heavy machinery powering up through my speakers. The water flow increased, now steadily rising around the victim's feet. They shifted uncomfortably, probably feeling the cold water seeping into their shoes. My hands were sweating so much I had to wipe them on my jeans before I could use the keyboard. Looking at the sequence again, I tried to force my panic-stricken brain to think logically. The numbers danced before my eyes, seemingly random at first glance. 31, 28, 31, 30, 31. The victim's breathing became more labored. The sound amplified through my speakers. The water had reached their ankles now, and they were trying to lift their feet, but the chair was bolted to the floor. I could see dark patches forming on their business slacks where the water had begun soaking through. 3 minutes left. I grabbed an old receipt from my desk and started scribbling the numbers, desperate for any pattern. The sequence kept repeating in my head. 31, 28, 31, 30, 31. Why did 28 stand out so much? It was the only number that wasn't 30 or 31. What made it different? A quiet sob came through my speakers. The water was now midway up their calves, and I could see them shivering. The paper bag was starting to stick to their face with each terrified breath. 2 minutes. My eyes darted between the timer and the numbers. 31, 28, 31, 30, 31. Then it hit me like a bolt of lightning. Months. These are the days in the months of the year. January, February, March, April, May. The next has to be June. June has 30 days. With my heart pounding, I pressed Y on the keyboard. Instantly, colourful confetti exploded across the screen. Correct. Correct. You've earned a 6-minute preparation period before question number 2. The water pumps didn't drain the room, but they did stop filling it. The victim's legs remained submerged up to the knees, a constant reminder of what was at stake. I used this time to study them more carefully through the multiple camera angles. They were wearing what looked like office attire. A light blue button-up shirt, dark slacks, and what had probably been expensive leather shoes before the water ruined them. A gold wedding band glinted on their left hand. On their right wrist, partially visible despite the zip ties, was what looked like a medical alert bracelet. My stomach churned at the implications. The 6 minutes passed far too quickly. The screen flickered, and the second question appeared. Divide 30 by 1/2 and add 10. Is the result 25? Y or N? The pumps roared back to life with renewed vigor. Water began pouring in faster than before, quickly rising past the victim's knees. Through the speakers, I could hear them trying to say something through the bag, their words muffled and desperate. My first instinct was to solve it quickly. Half of 30 is 15, plus 10 is 25, so the answer must be yes. My finger was already moving toward the Y key when I noticed something odd about the question's wording. It didn't say divide 30 in half. It said divide 30 by 1/2. The victim's thighs were underwater now. They were trying to stand, but the restraints held firm. The paper bag was becoming darker with their panicked breaths. I forced myself to think back to my school days. Mrs. Peterson's voice echoed in my head. Remember, class, dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. When you divide by 1/2, you're actually multiplying by 2. So, 30 divided by 1/2 would be 30 times 2, which is 60. Add 10 to that, and you get 70, not 25. The water had reached their waist. Through the top-down camera view, I could see their hands shaking violently against the restraints. Blood had started to trickle where the zip ties cut into their skin. Almost without conscious thought, I slammed my finger down on the N key. The next few seconds were agony. The water continued to rise, reaching their stomach. Their breathing had become erratic, the paper bag plastered against their face with each desperate inhalation. Had I gotten it wrong? Was I about to watch someone die because I'd overthought a middle school math problem? Then the room exploded with light and color. The victory music was almost drowned out by the sound of powerful drainage pumps activating. The water level dropped rapidly, and with a soft click, the zip ties released. The victim immediately reached up with trembling hands and tore off the paper bag. She was a middle-aged woman with graying brown hair and eyes wide with terror and relief. She looked directly into one of the cameras, her face streaked with tears before the feed cut out. A new message appeared on my screen. Congratulations. You have saved Dr. Chen. age 42, practicing oncologist and mother of 2. Your performance has earned you complete erasure of your data from our servers, a security flag in major dark web marketplaces marking your data as protected. We look forward to playing with you again. Choose your next game wisely. Yeah, right, I muttered to myself, like I'll ever come back to this. This ordeal had shaved 10 years of my life. I couldn't imagine putting myself through it again. That night, sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Dr. Chen's face after she removed the bag, the mix of trauma and relief, the way her hand shook as she touched her throat, as if to make sure she was still alive. I couldn't stop thinking about her family. Did her children know their mother had been missing? How long had she been in that room before I started the game? Did her patients wonder why she missed their appointments? I spent the next day in a daze, jumping at every notification on my phone. I changed all my passwords, ordered new credit cards, and installed every security program I could find. I even called my bank to put extra verification steps on my accounts. The gaming community has its dark corners, but this was something else entirely. This wasn't just crossing a line, it was obliterating it. When Ralph called later that week, his voice excited as he asked if I'd found any interesting games on the dark web. I told him my internet had been down and I never got around to it. He seemed disappointed, but some things are better left unsaid. For me, the dark web is over. Never again.